So I'm Todd Greenstein, part of the product team at Databricks, and this is Yuan.
Yeah, from the data governance team.
So we want to just talk about what we're doing with Unity Catalog and kind of just dive a little deeper into what you've heard so far. So just a quick disclaimer there, and just our agenda today, we want to basically go through an overview of the product. We're going to do a demo so you can see what it's like in real time, and then we might talk about a customer story after this. So first thing, which Matej talked about, when you think about governing data and AI, it's a really complex problem. You've got to have permissions on files, which to do this on a data lake is really difficult. You end up with, you don't have fine-grained governance. You end up having to use bolt-on, tools outside of what your core data lake is, and things just get really expensive and difficult to manage at scale. And then when you put permissions on tables and views, like with legacy technologies, like if you're using Hive, the problem is this doesn't scale. And then from once you get to permissions and rows, again, if you do this in a data warehouse, now you have two different governance models that you're trying to resolve into one. And then you add permissions on ML, and now you have three to manage. And it's just a really difficult problem to deal with. So this was our motivation in building Unity Catalog. And what we want to do is basically for all the personas on your data lake, we want to be able to provide governance at scale. And if you're, if you think of like a traditional data warehouse, you think of what you can do with the data lake and with Delta, all of this we want to be, and of course ML models and stuff, we want to be able to do all of this and govern at scale. And that was our big motivation behind this. So Unity just at a very top level glance, what this is it's centralized metadata. And you get centralized access control that you define with ANSI SQL grants. So grant revoke, and we'll show you an example of what this looks like. You get centralized data access auditing. And right now that auditing comes, it's basically collected in real time, but we're actually gonna be giving this to you as a system table very soon as well, which is something that's been asked for a long time, as long as I've been at Databricks. And then of course, faster query performance with better metadata serving. And specifically, we have two classes of storage that we support in Unity Catalog. The first is our managed storage. And with that, we're going to be adding a lot of optimizations specifically around performance. And then we also support external tables as well. And we'll actually show you what that looks like. And then of course, we have built-in search and discovery, and this is all automatic. It's not something that you have to instrument yourself. And then of course, same with Lineage. Our Lineage is real-time, and it's also automated. You don't need to instrument this yourself. And then of course, it integrates with a lot of existing tools that you already have. So I wanted to spend 1 second just kind of talking about what we do with Lineage. So Lineage, right now, it doesn't matter if you're using SQL queries, if you're doing notebooks, if you're doing dashboards, all of this is collected for you in real time. So we give you kind of a real-time view of Lineage. And then of course, we capture this, doesn't matter the language, and we give you a really easy visual representation of what this looks like. And of course, the other piece that we really like is this tracked across all of your workspaces. So it's not specific to one workspace. As long as you have a metastore assigned to that workspace, it's automatically collecting and tracking Lineage. And what that flow looks like is if I have an ad hoc query, I have an ETL job, or if I'm even using Delta Live tables, all of this is automatically collected by the Lineage service, and then it's given to you in the UI, but you also can extract this into downstream tools. Like one example, for example, that I'll mention here is Calibra already has an integration with us where they can hydrate their Lineage service directly from Unity Catalog. So, and there's more of this coming. And search and discovery, same thing, that this is all collected in real time. And what I like about our search service is it automatically adheres to the security model. So when you're searching across anything in Databricks, it's available to you. You search across this, and if I don't have access to it, it doesn't appear in my search results. That sounds trivial and simple, but applying this at data lake scale is not easy. And so it's totally automatic, it's intuitive, and from a user perspective, it's really easy to use. And from the core components, just wanted to spend a brief minute talking about what our components look like for Unity Catalog. One of the things that I'll mention here is, we talked about how we do auditing, the Data Explorer as a service, but as far as sharing data, if you have a need to do data egress or share with downstream partners, Unity Catalog acts as your Delta sharing server. So it's already built in, it's already a service that's part of Unity Catalog, and there's nothing else you have to do to be able to use that. And the core of why Unity can do what it can do and how it works across all of your workspaces is we have this notion of a 3-layer namespace that we're using in Spark. And what this is it's catalog, schema, table. And we can basically address any object within Unity Catalog using that 3-layer namespace. And what this allows us to do is your legacy Hive metastore that you already have within Databricks, you can use that as part of Unity Catalog. So it's not kind of an either or. We're not forcing you to migrate. You can basically use both in tandem, but all of the better governance and security you get with Unity Catalog is not available, obviously, on the Hive side. And last thing I'll mention here, from a partnering perspective, we brought a whole bunch of partners in so far. There's more coming every day. I already mentioned like Calibra. We have folks here from Privacera. We've got Bosco here somewhere in the back of the room. There he is. So we already have rich integrations with a lot of our partners already. So if it's something that, this is tools that you're using today, those will work in concert with Unity Catalog. And so what we like to say is, spending just a few minutes as a data administrator and setting up governance means a lifetime of data governance. And we think it's super easy. We think Unity is the best solution to do this. It's really, really easy to use. And I think we want to prove it to you. So we're going to show you just a brief demo. Okay. And we'll let you on take over.
Yeah. So as an admin user, I would like to create a storage credential and an external location first so that I can use them to access some cloud storage paths. For example, listing some files or importing some data set as external tables. Now I'm creating a storage credential. I'm specifying an IAM role here. So when a user uses the storage credential to access some files, UC will generate a session token for the user by assuming this role, so that the user can use the session token to access the cloud storage. And now I'm creating a storage credential, external location here. And this URL is the path where I store all my data set. And I also need to specify the storage credential I need to use for this external location. While we're creating this external location, UC will also help us to validate the storage credential. It will make sure that the storage credential has the permission to perform all the necessary operations. And we can also see the results here by clicking this test connections. And it will show that this storage credential can be used to read, write, list, and delete files under that location. So after we set up this external location, we can also create an external table using the data that's stored at this location. So let's also do that. So here you can see I'm selecting the main catalog and a new schema called Summit Demo. So one great thing about Unity Catalog is we have this 3-layer namespace. We can create different catalogs under the root Unity catalog and create schemas under each catalog. So you can also choose different catalogs or schemas you want to use when you create a table. So here I'm creating an external table called restaurant reviews using the location point to the data set. So this data set is stored at the external location I just created. And since I've already set up the external location and storage credential, we don't need to specify more information here. We just need to provide the location to the data set. So after we create this external table, I would also like to show you how to create a managed table. And here I'm uploading a file from my local computer to create a managed table. The main difference between managed table and external table is that managed table is all managed by Unity Catalog. So we don't need to worry about the credential or locations we use when we create this table. Waiting it to uploading. Okay. And besides that, we just need to make sure we're using the right catalog and schema we want to use when we create this table. And you can see this, there's a sample data set. This data set is about the location in San Francisco. And by clicking this create, my table safe graph demo data is being created. And after we create this table, it will be showing in this data explorer. And we can also see the table schema here, the sample data, the detail about this data, the table, and maybe permission here. And here, I want to grant other users the permission to access this table. For example, I just grant Todd the select on this table. And it will show up the permissions here. With this permission, Todd can select from this table, do some analysis, but he cannot change the table content. And another great thing about Unity Catalog is we have the system catalogs. I'm using the search box here to search for the system catalog. And we can see there is an information schema. And this schema contains all the metadata in Unity Catalog. For example, it contains metadata for the catalogs, the columns, the schemas, tables, and even views. So user can query this metadata to do some analysis. For example, if I'm interested in what are the tables that were created within the last 24 hours, I can just run a simple query to query from this data set. And you can see here, I'm selecting from the table system information schema tables, where the alter data is within a day. So it will show that the table I just created here. And another thing I want to show you is the lineage. And the lineage helps us to understand how this table is being used within this organization. And since it is just created, there's no usage here. So let's create a quick dashboard from it. Now I'm just using the column location name to create a quick dashboard. And you can see there are total around 35,000 of rows in this table. And we're using the first 1,000 for analysis. We can also change this to include all the table for analysis. And there's a simple breakdown, including the word cloud and word frequency. Another thing I can do is to create a downstream table from the sample data. And you can see here, I'm just creating a new table by selecting 2 columns from the SafeGraph demo data. And after it is created, it will also show up as this sidebar. So let's go back to the lineage part. I'm still using the search box to search for the demo data. And now we can see the new table is showed up here as a downstream table. And there's also a dashboard here. Another thing we can use is to see this lineage graph. And this lineage graph is generated in real time. So we don't need to do extra steps or enable it in code to see how this data is being transformed and used in this organization. And I'll leave it to Todd.
Thank you. So yeah, we just wanted to show that Unity really is that easy. Super easy to use. All of this works in real time, and the learning curve is very, very shallow. And we also wanted to say that this is GA, so if you want to start using this in production, you have our full guarantee of support and all of our engineering resources behind you. So we want to make sure you have that confidence when you're deploying this. And what's coming next, we're working on attribute-based access control. Is going to be coming as part of Unity Catalog. We have row and column masks and filters. That's also going to be coming. System tables, we're going to be adding audit logs directly to system tables. And there's a whole bunch of other features that are coming. But the groundwork and the framework is there. So we're excited to have you start onboarding. And don't just listen to us. We wanted to actually have a customer come up and talk about this in real time. So it's my pleasure to introduce Chris from Grammarly, who is an absolute rock star. And we'll take it from here.
Hey everyone, I'll try to make up some time. My name is Chris. I manage the data platform team at Grammarly. We're early adopters of UC. We've already pushed about 4,000 tables to UC. We ingest about 60,000 events per second. It's about 5 billion events per day, just to give you a concept of scale. And I got some members of my team here if you want to ask them any questions after. So what is Grammarly? Yes, we're a writing assistant. Yes, we'll help you with your grammar and your spelling. But we also help you with tone, clarity, conciseness, and many other things. I'm sure you all love it, so I'll give you a free premium code at the end. Lasts you 3 months. So quickly, I wanted to give you some concepts that are important for UC, specifically for Grammarly. So starting at the top here, you see that Terraform drives almost all of our architecture. We don't do anything manual, nothing. So Terraform generates really 2 concepts for us: services, which is the concept of data producers, so anybody creating data, and groups, so anybody consuming data, analysts, teams, anybody like that. You can see there's a couple things that get generated right out of the gate by Terraform. We give you a database, we give you a S3 bucket, we give you a lot of different things, policies that you can use, all done via code. So then starting from the left, you can see we have a very normal ingestion flow. We use Fivetran to ingest external sources like ad platforms, Salesforce, things like that. We also have Kinesis and Kafka for streaming, and we flow that straight into the bronze layer. So you've been here at Lakehouse talks for a while. Bronze, silver, gold is something you'll hear a lot. Our bronze layer is throughput optimized S3 buckets. So engineers, engineering teams, anybody creating data, dump data as fast as you can, no rules, no restrictions. That's the concept of the bronze layer. We then have a lot of tooling in place to automatically create this silver layer. This is a series of tables, delta tables, so that engineers can immediately query their data right out of the gate. For my team specifically, we created about 4,000 different events tables so that we can do observability tracking on the event level. So if you stop clicking a certain button inside of Grammarly, we'll know it immediately. And that's the concept of the silver layer. It's very, very gated. Only engineering teams that create the data can actually see this layer, which kind of gets into the Unity catalog concept of access controls. So you can see here after the silver layer, we have this red light, green light mechanism, which is all driven through UC. And they take care of all of our permissionings, which I'll show you here in a second. It also dramatically cleaned up our organization. The 3-level namespace, and I'm going to show you in a demo in a couple seconds, dramatically improved just the organization of data, make it easier for users. The gold level is the final one I'm going to talk about. This is actually a series of views. So rather than creating physical tables using Unity Catalog or Delta Live or anything, we put views on top of the silver layer. UC takes care of all the permissions on the view level, but we behind the scenes can make changes like column names, data types, table renaming. We can move it from different schemas. Makes it really, really easy versus having a physical table that kind of locks you into a specific name or space or anything like that. Platinum layer is where we actually create physical tables again. So my DE team will do all kinds of cool enrichment or attribution, things like that top graphic is meant to show you a user doing actions and then signing in and doing more. We push that user ID back in time. The little magnifying glass is point in time data. So being able to see what did a user look like at the time that they did X, Y, Z. The DE team takes care of all of that, and we call this the platinum layer. It is our source of truth layer. So let's take a look at Databricks for Grammarly before UC and after UC. Let me play. Can everybody see that really good? Let me start it over to make it full screen slide. How do I play this? Whatever, let's just do it. All right, before UC. Basically, we use the Hive Metastore. This is what it looked like before UC. All of the concepts I just showed you, like creating databases for every team, for every service, it got really, really messy really fast. You can see there's tons of databases here all in one place. So users didn't really know where to go. So imagine I'm looking for Apple. I click on this database because I think like, oh, I want to see some Apple ads data. You immediately get an error. Again, we enforce a lot of security around the silver layer. So anything that starts with prod, users couldn't see, but they didn't really know where to find data. If they did manage to find default, you can see it's very messy because anybody can write to this space. You have a table that says a table with one column called container ID. You have a couple onboarding things like diamonds, which is obviously not relevant at all. And beyond that, you can just scroll forever here because tables are just constantly going to the same space. So really no organization at all. After UC, we have the concept of 4 catalogs: public, restricted, sandbox, and service. So service is all of our silver layer. Engineering teams get their space. It's nice and hidden. They can only see what they created. Analytical users don't even see this catalog. Sandbox is their space to build tables. So every team gets their own database to write whatever data they want. You can see on the right that the ACL for that team is what governs it, so they can write and do whatever they want inside of that sandbox. Restricted is where we keep our very, very sensitive data, stuff like finance. So even me as an admin and the manager of the team that created this, I can't see this, and I get a nice error around like not having access, so I know that this is because of my permissions, and I need to request that. Finally, you get public, which is what everybody gets by default. We roll up all of our actions into nice, clean views. We clean up the names. We do all kinds of nested decoupling and stuff like that. Client is all of our Grammarly clients, so people can easily find exactly what data they want to see. We roll out a new product, they can see that immediately. DIM is all of our dimensional tables. Anything that you're trying to find like on a DIM level is going to be here. External sources is where we store all of those Fivetran data sources, ads, Salesforce, everything. But because it's in public, I should be able to see it, right? So if I click sample, you can actually see the ads data finally. So everything in public is open to everybody by default. Beyond that, because of this organization, it's much easier to search. So now if I'm looking for SFDC, Salesforce, I can find it. All the tables are there. If I'm looking for SFMC, Marketing Cloud, all there. Say I'm looking for Facebook, again, very, very easy to find all of these things, and everybody has access to these. Finally, you have that Platinum database, and Tableau is where we let people surface views. But one thing I wanted to show is that you still keep all of those access controls. So even on a column level, and again, I'm an admin, I'm the manager of this team, I can't see restricted data at the column level inside of this table, even if I jump outside of the SQL space back to notebooks. So that's what UC did for us. All right, moving on. How do we do this? Like I said, it's all code, right? So I wanted to prove that. Just for the public schema, I'm going to show you all the lines of code to generate these permissions. You can see this is 24 lines. There's actually more on the next slide, but on this slide, you're talking about giving admins the ability to create. So again, we wanted to keep it nice and clean. Nobody can write except for us. That's what these lines of codes are doing. The next one is allow all users to be able to read from those databases, not write. So that's where you see usage versus at the top you see create. Finally, what we do is gather all of the databases inside of that public and make sure that we can actually grant access to all of them. Why do we do this? Because if we push out a new database, we want to push out access right away. This code will do it programmatically. We don't have to think about it. And there at the bottom in line 43 onward, you can see we grant users read to all tables within all of those databases. 51 lines of code. Done. And that's how easy it is. So try out Grammarly. This is the premium code. If you want to ask more questions about how we implement these things, like I said, my team is right here. I got a couple more wandering around, and I'll be around to answer questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you.